Hello fellow citizens of the verse, my name is Simon aka Space Banana aka Steam Buggy Ingame, and what do we have today? Well, today we're chilling out in our Vulture, doing a quick 1-hour session of salvaging, just to see how much money we'll be making in the end. Spoiler alert, 500 to 600k, depending on what missions are available. If you're interested on how this comes along, enjoy the video. In case you have never engaged in salvaging, here is what it's all about. You are taking care of shipwrecks around the verse. You will pay a little fee, and in return you are given coordinates of a shipwreck that needs to be removed. And you get to keep all the valuable materials you salvage. Now you board your ship, approach the wreck and get to work. You can start by scraping the shipwreck's hull, quite the manual process which does take quite some time, but in return yields a very valuable resource named Recycled Material Composite. Fairly new to the game is the so-called fracture mode, which takes care of the remaining wreck, or the entire ship including the hull, if you don't feel like scraping beforehand. It just works as the name suggests. You fracture the shipwreck's core into smaller parts, which you can then disintegrate to earn some so-called construction material. It isn't as valuable, yet an entire vulture full of construction material can sell for quite some money, especially given that fracturing only takes seconds. There are basically 3 types of salvage missions. Legal ones from the general missions menu, risky illegal ones, and cleanup missions from the personal tab. The legal ones are the cheapest to get into, yet they come with a few downsides in terms of convenience. The wrecks are usually distributed near various Lagrange points, which can lead to quite some time spent in Quantum Drive, as they are all over the place. Also, those areas are terrible to navigate with the current star map in patch 3.22. Often your Quantum Drive won't find valid markers to jump to. Sometimes you can fix this by clearing the route and setting it again, and sometimes you can't. Also, it doesn't help that the ship you're trying to reach can't be targeted directly, so usually you'll end up flying around 120 to 130 kilometers manually, often through asteroids. The risky missions come with a timer of 30 minutes. Since usually you are trespassing during those missions, eventually security will show up after that time and kindly ask you to leave the area, usually with lasers. But since those missions were designed before the whole fracturing thing, you'll probably never have a problem if you just disintegrate the ships within a few seconds. And then there are the cleanup missions, which are our biggest friend. Instead of paying a fee for the shipwreck's coordinates, you are being paid a nice amount of cash to take care of specific cases. Unfortunately, those missions are not constantly available, but if you encounter one, this should be your top priority. Also nice, the time for security arrive is usually 60 minutes instead of 30. Sounds easy, right? It is. Let's find as many cleanup missions as possible and fill the breaks with risky salvage missions. We start our journey with a Constellation Andromeda cleanup. However, we're counting this as a regular risky mission since we haven't gotten the actual mission reward. The reason behind that was me coming in with kind of an unusual fracturing method, as you can see in the footage. Anyway, we disintegrate the ship and that fills up our buffer entirely. That's usually the case when disintegrating medium-sized ships. And we're done. We'll just accept the next mission and get to the marker. In order to continue salvaging materials, we need to empty the buffer by processing and packaging the goods into 1 SCU boxes. Fortunately, there is an auto-eject button, which does pretty much all of the work for us, and we just need to manage the boxes being ejected with our multi-tool with the tractor beam attachment. If you forgot to bring one, don't worry, you can craft them right here. However, you would need to scrape a little bit of a ship's hull, since recycled material composite is required as a crafting material. Anyways, the official Vulture's cargo grid can hold a maximum of 12 SCU, but there is quite a lot more space on the left-hand side. We're going to fill that up as well, allowing us to easily store a total of 23 to 24 boxes in the back of the ship. And once the buffer is emptied, we'll approach our next target, a Cutlass Black. Fracture, disintegrate and leave. Once our buffer is full again, we get into the back of the Vulture and sort another 11 boxes in this case, since I messed up the cargo management a little. And now that the buffer is empty again, we approach the third target. Again, a Cutlass Black. We fracture, disintegrate, and now we head straight to the Seraphim space stations where we can sell our goods. After landing our ship, we head straight to the elevators to visit the admin office on the Galleria. Here we sell our 23 SCU of construction materials in the back of the ship for a nice 135k aUEC total. And since we can't sell straight from the buffer, we'll once more head down to the hangar, do some more box management, and then get back to sell the remaining material from the buffer. I know this feels kind of awkward, but otherwise we would be missing out on 70k aUEC per trip. Also, my ship is kind of doing a weird thing here, and I promise I have down the landing gear. Once everything is sold, we can take off and start all over. Until now, this trip took around 30 minutes, so another one should be possible in our 1 hour time frame. In fact, there's probably a lot of things to improve, mostly my salvaging efficiency, since the salvage heads weren't exactly doing what I was hoping for in the beginning, and my skills regarding the multi-tool are something we shouldn't even start talking about. On the second round, we got a little luckier with 2 of the 3 missions being constellation cleanups. That's a nice 160k more in the bank. I'll go ahead and skip pretty much the rest of the run, since basically it's all the same as before. But in the end, let's quickly go over the results. We were starting with 240k aUEC in the bank, and after 1 hour and 7 minutes we finished with 799k, so we made a profit of around 560k. Is this good? Well, yeah, but there are definitely better options to quickly earn some money in the game. Like with the Vulture's bigger brother, the Reclaimer. Not only can it hold way more cargo and therefore take way less trips back to sell, but the Hammerhead cleanup missions reward you with an instant 240k aUEC. You can in fact expect quite a few million per trip, even in solo gameplay. Now, is salvaging in the Vulture actually fun? Well, I would say, for me, not so much, as I prefer the chilled and laid-back type of missions, and doing salvage keeps you really busy constantly. However, it is something I definitely recommend for everybody to try out at some point, just to get yourself an impression of what it's like. Until then, stay safe out there.